My name is Páiric Clerkin. I am CEO of the Irish Primary Principals Network. Today I'd like to outline the progress that we're making in Ireland regarding our Sustainable Leadership Project and our plans for the future. I also hope to plant some seeds concerning potential opportunities to further the aspiration towards creating an environment where school leadership can thrive and does not have a negative impact on health and well-being. The focus of IPPN's work in recent years has been very much on the sustainability of leadership. But now we want to explore the possibility of reframing that narrative and to focus on the creation of the conditions that would allow leadership to flourish and thrive. Engagement with international colleagues confirms that the vast majority of jurisdictions are experiencing the same challenges as Irish school leaders. And regardless of the differing ways in which leadership is resourced and supported infrastructurally, there is a shared frustration about the lack of opportunity to focus on our core mission of leading, teaching and learning. It is our view, and that of the Deakin International researchers, that if the following conditions existed, school leadership would be more sustainable, much more effective, and would not have an adverse impact on health and well-being. There would be clarity around the focus of the work of school leaders. There would be sufficient time to do that specific work. There would be appropriate governance and administrative structures that allow school leaders to lead effectively and focus on their core purpose. And there would be effective sharing of leadership. From an Irish perspective, we were convinced by late 2024 that this message to our policymakers was landing and that our advocacy work was about to yield dividends. We looked forward to announcements in last year's October budget, where we expected new measures to support leadership to be announced. That didn't happen, and we were extremely disappointed, to say the least. It seemed we had convinced our Department of Education, but not those controlling the overall purse strings. We needed a game changer. The game changer was the publication by UNESCO of its annual Global Education Monitoring Report around September 2024, referencing IPPN research. The report's specific focus was on leadership in education at all levels, with a particular emphasis on the potential for school leadership to be transformative and why that potential is not being realised. The report outlines clear recommendations to policymakers as to what needs to happen in the leadership space. Regarding school leadership, the report states that there is a diminished focus on core purpose, and when school leaders spend too much time on administrative or operational work, they have less time to observe classrooms, mentor teachers, guide instruction, monitor student learning, and lead improvements in pedagogy. The report concludes that this is having a negative impact on learning outcomes. The stress, burnout, and job dissatisfaction associated with heavy administrative burdens are also noted, the conclusion being that overworked leaders are less able to engage creatively or transformatively with teaching and learning. The report offers recommendations that are designed to strengthen leadership in education at all levels, so that education systems can better deliver learning for all. Messages such as, don't divert school leaders from their core purpose. Reduce the administrative workload of principals so that they can focus more on instruction. Delegate non-instructional and management tasks to others where possible. Move away from lone hero models. Leadership should be distributed and shared with middle leaders having clearly defined roles and responsibilities. So why was the report such a game changer in Ireland? It was widely acknowledged that the publication of the GEM report had focused minds. Despite the fact that the Irish Primary Principals Network and our post-primary colleagues NAPD had been saying exactly what was contained in the GEM report for a number of years, now that an international voice had drawn attention to the issue, action needed to be taken. And action was taken. We have 2 pilot research programs running. Clustered administrative officers in smaller schools and administrative executives in larger schools. Both roles are intended to remove the non-educational administrative burden from the desk of the school leader in the hope that it will afford more time for those leaders to focus on teaching and learning. In a moment, I'll explain to you the impact the Clustered Administrative Officers project is having on the practice of school leadership in small schools that are participating in the project. We are also lobbying for a greater allocation of leadership time to schools to facilitate the enactment of our new curriculum, and we have received soundings that this is being actively considered. It was seeing the impact that this international focus had on our system that got us thinking. It struck us that many organisations around the globe have focused on the sustainability of leadership, much of it underpinned by data and independently commissioned research. Add to that the power of the international voice and the influence of international networks, such as International Confederation of Principals and the European School Heads Association, where our collective voice is louder and more impactful. What if we were to try to exploit these 2 dynamics to assist us in having greater impact on school leadership practice across the world in terms of influencing and shaping policy reform locally? What if we were to join forces to collaborate on an international research project in response to the UNESCO GEM report? This could deepen what we already know and provide insights that further strengthen the evidence base. Working together in this way would give the profession a stronger international voice and support efforts to bring about local reforms and improvements. Findings and recommendations from this work, especially when backed by respected international bodies, would carry significant weight and would help shape national policies and practices. We've had initial conversations with ICP, with ESHA, and with the research team in Deakin, who have worked on school leadership, health and well-being research around the world. We have been met with an enthusiastic response from all. Let's remember, whether the focus on sustainable leadership is at national or at global level, one universal truth is accepted: school leadership matters. So there's an imperative to ensure that the conducive conditions exist for school leaders to flourish and thrive, leading to a consequential positive impact on schools and students. We need to move the discourse on school leadership beyond the limited ambition of it merely being sustainable. And we should aspire to the creation of the conducive conditions that would allow it to flourish and thrive. This potential research collaboration could be the catalyst for initiating that international conversation about school leadership, with a view to better ensuring its effectiveness and the consequential effectiveness of schools all around the world. Ireland will collaborate with the European School Heads Association and the International Confederation of Principals in hosting an international conference in 2027. This conference will offer the opportunity to unpack the learning from that international research and arm us all with evidence to advocate as effectively as possible at local level for the creation of conditions conducive to thriving school leadership. The students in our schools will be the ultimate beneficiaries. If your national organisation is interested in participating in this international research, or if you would like to learn more about this research opportunity, or about the conference that IPPN will organise in November 2027, please contact Brian O'Doherty. Brian's email address is brian.o'doherty@ippn.ie. I'll hand over now to Finbar, who will explain the impact that one of the pilot projects underway in Ireland is having on the practice of school leadership in smaller schools. Thank you.